Yeah, wow. Okay, so let's tell me what happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, I want to tell you a story actually on that note, because this has actually only happened yesterday. So I had a client talk to me about an incident with their dog who, um, she's 7 years old, so she's not an old dog, but she's not a baby girl either, right? And so there's been time for some not ideal circumstances to be creeping in, but they're staying invisible. Well, they're staying invisible till now, and this is the thing, right? Every symptom is like an iceberg, right? You've got the bit at the top that you can see once it emerges, but there's all the stuff underneath that you don't see until it emerges. And so what had happened is that the dog had gone to the vet for a grooming procedure, super like non-invasive kind of thing, except for the fact that she came back with an injury. So somewhere along the line during the grooming process, the clippers must have snagged the skin and caused a small injury site. Like nothing serious, obviously not fun, not what you would want to have happen. But since then, so that happened about a week or so ago, and since then, this poor doggy has had a number of skin issues all erupt, quote unquote, out of nowhere, right? For no reason. Like we always hear, right? For no reason at all. Like this suddenly happened. It's like, yeah, no, there's always a reason why something happens. It's have we detected what that is, and can we figure it out once it starts? So I was explaining that when you've been alive for a while, you've got a backup of stuff that you've been exposed to, right? You've had things go on in your life that you maybe haven't detoxed from yet, or they haven't been properly dealt with by your body. And so your body's still waging a war, if you like, with its immune system to, I'm trying not to stand on the chickens because they're all around my feet, which is why I'm moving. Let me just say good afternoon to the chickens.
Oh.
Hey guys. They think I've got snacks. So I kind of lost my thread, but what I want to say to this is, when your body's fighting a war that's invisible, right, which your immune system's doing that all the time. You're getting rid of cancer cells every single day because of the DNA mutations in the replication of your cells that happen on the trillions of scale, right? You're fighting off tiny pathogens and bugs, right? You don't realize any of this because your immune system wins. You never get a symptom. You don't know, but it's happening every day. But when that war is very evenly matched, right, the pathogen's on 99 and your immune system's on 100, then it only takes the smallest thing, like this skin injury, right, to suddenly tip the balance. And all the things that were submerged under the water, but so close to the top, now suddenly break through, and all these symptoms start to pop up. And so you have a situation where a very small wound suddenly is cascading into multiple skin issues, multiple lesions, multiple stuff that we couldn't tell was there before because the immune system was just getting the upper hand.
So you explained all this to him, right? Because it was like a little wound. It was clearly from the incident, and then all of a sudden her whole body kind of breaks out. And so you're explaining this to him, and what was his response?
I mean, you've got to. I mean, because you have trust, right? Whenever you have a client-patient relationship, you've got to have trust. Otherwise, how can you go anywhere, right? So because there's trust, people will listen even though it's something brand new. And this is why we want to have these kind of conversations, I think, on a more public scale, which is exactly what we're doing, so that people are aware that this is what's going on. Because when something is invisible, how do you know, right? But the alternative, right, the natural thing to do is when your pet is suffering, you're like, well, let's go to the vet and sort that out. Let's fix the situation. It's like, yeah, that's absolutely the right thing to do in an emergency situation, but in something that you can do yourself, you give yourself another option. And so this is the cool thing, right? When you know what to look for, when you know what the signs are, just trying to get out of the sun, so I'm squinting, then you've got the ability to perform some of these remedial therapies or healing treatments or suffering alleviation modalities, whatever you want to call them. You can do some of that at home by yourself. Now your pet in their stressed state doesn't have to endure a vet visit that's unnecessary, right? If it's necessary, of course you go, right? And if you aren't sure of yourself what to do, then of course you go. But if you can say to yourself, well, actually, I have these things at home. I have some essential oils for some zoopharmacognosy. I have some ozone cream that I can use to kill the infection so we don't have to have an antibiotic. Because remember, what's the underlying issue to a lot of skin problems? It's either a gut problem or it's a toxins problem, that you haven't been able to get rid of toxins from the body. So if it's a microbiome issue of a gut dysbiosis, an antibiotic is just going to make it worse. And an antibiotic on a small wound on the skin is overkill. It's like having a nuclear war to fight an anthill. You know, there's a better system, there's a better option in place, right, that you can do that safely. So those are the things. I mean, I'm always here to provide options and information rather than, hey, this is what you have to do, follow me, I dictate the law. No, that's not it at all. It's like, did you know that there's this and this and this that I can suggest to you, all easily, you know, obtainable locally, like you don't need to go anywhere fancy to get those things, and then you can operate on that situation naturally, holistically, kindly, safely, at home, without a big vet bill, without the travel of the car, and without the bad side effects of wiping out a microbiome that didn't need to die.
Yeah, I mean, the approach that you explained to this person is so different than what they would have gotten if they had gone back to the vet and been like, help me with this. And I mean, you're just coming at a completely different angle. Like, and I'm curious, do you know what they decided to do?
Yeah, I mean, they said, okay, what? Give me a link to that product. How much do I use? When do I use it? And then, like, literally, after we finished our consultation, I got a message saying, yeah, I've just cancelled my vet appointment. I don't feel like I need to go tomorrow now. I'll do this other thing instead. I can always rebook appointment, right?
Sure.
What you're suggesting doesn't seem to be making a difference. But yeah, so it's just knowing that you have options rather than.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I feel like that's kind of the second takeaway from this, or like the second thing that stands out, is when you don't really have a lot of tools in your toolkit, it's like something happens, you're like, oh shit, like gotta go to the vet, like, right? Because you're like, I'll do anything, like tell me what to do and you'll go. Versus like if you have tools in your toolkit and you have strategies, whether it's like knowledge that you've accumulated or whether it's someone that you can literally reach out to, right, for like a consult, like, you know, like yourself, for holistic, you know, strategies you can do at home. And also, again, thinking about why this is happening in the first place, it really reduces that stress response. And not only is that good for us, but that's obviously good for our pet and also good for our decision making, right? Because we all know, like, when we are in that state of like, oh, panic, like, we're not thinking as clearly as possible. So it, you know, and this actually, like, in a weird way, this might have been like a blessing in disguise, because now they know that this is what's going on with their dog, right? To choose a dog with their dog, so they can actually start to address something bigger. And it's like, you know, you know this, I always use that analogy of the cup, right? We like add to the cup and then eventually it overflows, but we don't know if it's like right there just about to overflow. And so now, instead of having that fear response and feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to do all these things to try to, you know, address this one thing, it's like, okay, now I have a lot of strategies to actually address what's going on bigger picture and feel confident in that. And she's actually going to have better health long term because of it.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the points they raised in our consult yesterday is, in actual fact, it is a blessing in disguise to know where those underlying problems are that were invisible. Like, once you know something, you can do something about it. And this is the thing. Yeah. We don't know what we don't know. Right? And that's one of the biggest challenges across the board with patients, because the people will come to me and because there's problem X that they've spotted, like in this case here, there's problem X. Suddenly there's this, you know, situation. But until you know that you can address the underlying cause, until you know you can do things at home, until you know you can dictate your to 80% plus, right? Not 100% control, but 80% plus, you can control the pathway of health that you experience and that your pet experiences. You can choose the finishing line that they have in life, right? Until you know those things, you don't know that you can do something about it. So how can you take any action? Once you know, then you can at least say, well, now I know this and I don't know what to do with that, but at least I know now I can start asking questions. I can start finding out. And so that in itself is such an empowering concept. And I was in exactly the same position, right? Before I took this journey to study all of this and to bring it out to, I was the pet parent, and I was a pet parent who thought I was pretty darn good because I was a zoologist, and what I didn't know about animals kind of wasn't worth knowing. I mean, not quite as arrogant as that, but like there was a certain level of like, of course I'm a great pet parent because I know stuff. And yet I literally knew nothing meaningful when it came to the health situation, because I just blindly followed my vet, who blindly followed their curriculum at school, who blindly followed whatever the agenda was of that teaching modality, which is an allopathic model, right? And there's nothing wrong with an allopathic model when it's a life and death situation or an infectious disease. But when it comes to actually healing, and you've got to remember, for me as a welfare scientist, that's the critical thing. If you're not changing an animal's welfare, their quality of life, the level of joy and freedom that they have in this world, what are you doing, right? It's about giving them everything that they rightfully deserve, and that includes, really good health. When we're their parent, that's our responsibility. And until I ran into the brick wall of there's nothing you can do, and here are the drugs, and the drugs have side effects, but it's the only choice you've got, so you better take it, and it costs a load of money, so give us your money, like all of that stuff, I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. Well, no, to ask the question until it got to that pain point. I'm just going to say, it still got to that pain point, and I was just like, I will sell my arms, right? I will cut my arms off and sell them if it will make a difference. What the heck can I do to do something more? And then I got motivated about it, and then went, oh my gosh, nobody knows this. There's so much that everyone has to know.
Well, it goes back to prevention and protection versus reaction. And most people aren't aware of all the strategies that they can start taking now. And most people wait until there's some kind of problem. I mean, I'm totally guilty of the same thing, which is like, around the time that we met. And it was like just mind blowing because, again, didn't know there was a problem until there's a full blown problem. So, I mean, it just goes back to all these principles that we're always talking about. Oh my gosh. All these principles that she's so interested in what I'm saying. All these principles that we're always talking about, like, they're just relevant no matter where you are. And, I hear this too on the human side, or, I'll start, talking about some specific health or, lifestyle or functional thing. And people say, well, that's not relevant for me. And I'm like, yeah, but it is. Like, for example, I'm always talking about gut health. Yes, it is relevant for you because you have a gut. So, like, even if you don't have GI symptoms, like, you should be taking steps to protect your gut health, right? Because to your point, we're always getting insults all the time. And eventually that will overflow. And so we just want to kind of allow our body to combat that and allow our body to heal instead of waiting for something to kind of explode. So, I mean, I'm very interested to see what happens with this. And again, I think this is going to be kind of the next step in their journey of healing, and they're lucky to have you, of course. Did you lose me? Are you still there?
Yeah, I just lost your signal for a second.
Yeah.
So say that last thing again.
I was just saying that they're lucky to have you, and that this seems like the next step in their, in their health, in their pet health journey, really, and in their like pet parent journey, right?
Yeah, it now means that we can put in a protocol to not just fix the problem right now or get that skin under control, make sure there's no infection, nothing gets worse, but we can address the underlying things. So we'll look at a gut protocol, we'll look at detox things, we'll start gently and go slowly to remove things without that big spike of toxic overload, but you've got to know how to do it the right way. So it's a pathway that we can go forward now. Knowing that, I mean, all the way through, right? The theme of our phone call was, she's got to be with me for another 20 years. I need her with me for another 20 years. And I'm like, well, we can do that, right? We're starting early enough that we can do that, but there's a whole host of stuff that needs to be looked at. What are we doing at the moment, and how can we improve that? And so it, you know, that's, I mean, the number of times I've heard that's every pet parent's wish, right, is never say goodbye. Right now I can't do that, but
what you said earlier, you said choose their finish line, and that's huge. That's huge, right? Because we know we're all going to get there. Us, our pets, like our loved one. Like we don't have to go down that whole dark hole. But like, you know, it is the truth, and it doesn't have to be dark, and it doesn't have to be grim, and it doesn't have to be, because if we, for ourselves and for our pets, if we're able to live our most healthy, best quality of life for as long as we can, like that's an amazing, beautiful thing to celebrate. And being able to choose that finish line, as opposed to, I think most people's, their experience with their pets, and a lot of people with themselves and their family, we don't get to choose our finish line. And it's sudden, it's abrupt, it's painful, it's whatever the, you know, whatever the adjective is. It's generally not a sort of same peaceful experience kind of in that way. And I mean peaceful for the other people experiencing that, right? Because there's often so much suffering that accompanies it. So I think that's really powerful, that choose your finish line.
Yeah, it is, because you talk to people, right? And I mean, there are lots of studies that have looked at what do people regret about things about dying, and what do people wish about things about dying, right? And everybody wishes to go, you know, to leave this world on their own bed, in their own home, surrounded by the people that they love, with possibly just having had their favorite breakfast or whatever. Like it's that level of sort of, hey, it's the final goodbye, let's make it a party kind of thing, you know, because there isn't any sort of trauma associated with it. And certainly with pets, I hear a lot of end of life stories of we did it this way, we did it that way, and then, you know, if we did it this way the first time, we're never ever doing that again. We're taking steps to have far more control over the situation and kindness in the situation. So the dream is that your pets are going on and on and on and on and on and on and on with you, right? Doing all the fun things in life and having a good day every day. And then there's like and you know that they're getting older, right? So you know that it's eventually going to happen, right? But every day is a good day. There isn't a day where, like, half their body doesn't work or something, right? We're still operate. And then there's I don't know, 3 or 4 days of I'm not feeling like I've got any energy and I really don't want to do anything. I'm just going to lie here. And you can see that they're ready. And you've got several days to get ready in your own head. And you know that they're still happy. They're just like it's time. And then you can say goodbye at home, right? Because you don't have to do that dreaded car journey. Right? You can do it at home because you know that there's nothing that needs to be hastened, because it's peaceful, because it's kind, because they're just letting go. They're not suffering. They're just saying, time's up. That's a totally different scenario. You know the number of animals that are euthanized, right, instead of dying naturally? It's astronomical, and it's so traumatic for so many people. And it's really traumatic when people can't be in the room with their pet because it's too hard for them, and then their pet has to go through that alone with strangers in a clinical room. Like, I can't even get my head around it. Like, this is another whole area, but anyway. So
yeah, I know. Well, oh my gosh, we have like touched on so many things that you and I have been talking about recently, so we can definitely continue the conversation. And for folks who are listening, this is a new series we're doing where we're coming to you, we're calling Live and Unplugged, like sharing conversations with you that we have, the two of us. I mean, we have these kinds of conversations all the time, sharing, you know, experiences with clients, or just kind of ranting about, you know, whatever is on our minds, or sometimes it's celebrating just like different, you know, the experience of really being so steeped in this world, and having opinions and having insights and having an approach that's not really conventional for humans or for pets. And so, you know, again, some of this stuff is controversial. Thank you. Controversial. Yeah. But we want to have those conversations because if they resonate with you, like, this is your community. Like, we are here for you. And if these messages don't resonate with you, like, we might not be your people, and that's okay too. But we I feel like these conversations need to be had more openly, because most people aren't able to talk about their health and their pet's health kind of in this open setting, and it can feel really lonely. So if you feel like that, we're here, right here with you. Oh, but before we take off for the day, we're doing these Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I almost forgot what today is. Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 9:30 Eastern. But I wanted to put a little plug, Penny, if I can. We didn't talk about this beforehand, but our event next week that we haven't officially
yeah, go for it.
Okay, so along the lines of prevention and protection, and like you need to take care of the things even if there aren't symptoms, dental health. You guys know we talk about dental health, especially for our pets, like literally all the time. If you are in Rejuvenate, our membership, we're doing the entire month on dental care. So you're already like, you know, the masterclass, the mini podcast, like all the things. But we're actually bringing a surprise guest to Pet and Parent Longevity community as a whole to do a live workshop next week with Penny, drumroll,
everyone's favorite Irishman, Dr. Connor Brady, who's going to come and talk about all things teeth, gums, jaws, plaque, toothbrushes, bones. Oh my gosh, the list of stuff he's covering is insane. I've only said about half of it there. So if you want to know anything about how to keep your dog's mouth, your cat's mouth clean, healthy, strong, remembering, and this is getting on the serious side again for 1 second, remembering that periodontal disease is one of the top 5 killers, top 5 that's taking out our pets too young. So this is a really, really important topic, and we're going to be diving into all dimensions of that with an expert who you all know and love. So join us next Thursday.
Next Thursday. We'll share the link here in the comments on YouTube and Facebook for the link to register. It's completely free. It's completely free to come. So please do come. If you want to get the recording, we can put instructions on how to do that, but it's free to come live. We want and need to see you there, because if you didn't know, most dogs have dental disease by the time they're 2. Am I saying that stat right, Penny? 2 years old. Like, that's crazy.
It's mental. I think the stat is over 80% by 2 years old and 90% by 3 years of. That's just ridiculous, right? This is not normal. It's everywhere, but it's not normal. Okay, so we can change that.
And some of these principles, obviously some of the tips about like eating raw meaty bones probably aren't going to apply to humans, but you know, atherosclerosis or heart disease is the #1 killer in humans worldwide, and dental disease contributes to that. So this is also relevant for you if you have 2 legs or 4 legs. Come join us. We'll share those links to register, and we'll see you guys next week on Tuesday.
See you guys.